Hey guys, Rob or Panics here, and welcome to part 4 of Web Design and Coding for Beginners! Haha. Sorry it's been a little while since I've uploaded. My internet's been a fucking meh, so I haven't been able to actually do anything, so I thought I'd rather wait and then record it when it's going to be able to go live. So, we'll unhide my desktop and work out where we were last time. So, here we go. We are in tutorial website, and we are going to go. Why have I got something called downloads there? Oh yeah, so that's just the downloads of the episode by episode thing. So we're going to open up index.html with Dreamweaver as per usual, and get cracking. So preview in Chrome. Here we go, and today we're going to talk about. Firstly, we're going to talk about lists. And then we're going to talk about how to use lists to make a nav bar. So it will start to look like a website once we've got the nav bar in. So we're going to talk about lists to start with. We're going to make a list after the new H2. So we're going to call it H2 List Techers. Ah, yes, bruv. Subtitle. So we're going to change it to List Techers. Again, just hitting Command S. I do this, I know that's going to change to that, but I like to just switch in between stuff every time I do something, just to make sure, because the worst thing to do is to do a whole load of shit and then Command S, go and have a look at it 10 minutes later and it look nothing like what you expected it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start. Now a list, we're going to go for an unordered list, not a numbered list. So it's not going to be 1, 2, 3. It's just going to be like full stop, bullet points. So we're going to go for open pointy bracket, UL, close pointy bracket. Then we're going to come down and then close it. And to show you what that does, it does fuck all. Because you've not put anything in your list. Now you might think, how do I put things in my list? It's not just jam them in. You go into a new line. Now I like to tab in for lists, because again it's nice and easy to keep an eye on what you're doing. And you're going to pointy bracket li, which is list element, and then close it. And then we're going to just copy that and then put another few on a couple of lines. And we're going to call this, let's call this a list of my techers. So it's a list of techniques I can do. So we're going to write Photoshop techers, and we're going to write being wicked techers, and we're going to write loving my fans techers. And there we go. So immediately come back, have a look, and we have a list. You can see it's got full stops, and there you go. That's the tutorial over. Bosh. Joking. It's little jokes like that get me through my day. But we're going to talk about styling them now. So, let's say you don't want that fucking full stop. It's horrible. You're like, bun that. And you want to be specific about just this list. Let's say you've got, let's just copy this list, and we're going to copy it again and paste it there. So we've got 2 lists. And you think, that's awesome, but I want the top list to have no bullet points. So we're going to come to the UL, and we're going to set class equals no bullet. And then we're going to go to our style sheet. And then, again, like we did with standard text, we're going to go no bullet with a full stop, because it's a class, not an ID. And then we're going to go to list style none. And it's immediately no bullets. And it's indented. I'll talk about that in a sec. But there's plenty of other things you can do for list style. You can do list style decimal. Let's see what happens with this when we do this. So it does numbers. You can do unordered listed with numbers. Let's do what else is there? Square. You guessed it. It's a little square. But let's stick with none, because let's go with no bullet. And then you're going to see that it's indented, and like I said last week, or last time I did a tutorial, it's been a little while, if you right click on something and click inspect element, and this is in Google Chrome, there's a similar thing in Firefox, but if you click inspect element and then hover over it, you'll see that the list style is there. That's how big the list style is. You hover over the actual list, the entire unordered list, you'll see the green box is the padding. So at the moment, it's padding the entire list on the left hand side only, and obviously that's to make it so that the bullet is sat in, because if you had a bullet and then had no padding, the bullet would be on top of the text, and that would look shit, and you don't want to do that. So as soon as you take out the bullet, you set list style to none, you've got to rectify the padding. So much like the padding we had on our list, on our standard text, we're going to make it the width 850, and we're going to set the margin to 0 auto 20 pixels auto, and that should do the same thing as it does for our text, but you'll see that there's still that padding because we haven't actually taken the padding out. If you don't specify any padding, certain elements have a predetermined value. Lists have a predetermined padding, like the H1 elements have a predetermined margin, stuff like that, and you'll work them out as you go along, and you'll learn to either counter them or to fix them. So we'll go to padding, and we're just going to do 0. We don't want any padding on it, and you'll see it drops in really nicely. So there we are. That's immediately how to do an unordered list. And you're thinking, that's fantastic, Rob, but how am I supposed to use that as a nav bar? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a nav bar. Now this is slightly more tricky, so I'm going to go a little bit slower. What we're going to do is we're going to want to go above main title techers, but below container, so we're still staying within the container, so it's still going to be the width of our container, our nav bar. And we're going to create a div, but it's going to be an ID, it's going to be an identity, and we're going to call it nav, because it's nice and easy, it's short, and you know exactly what it does. And then close it. We'll put in a space, and you'll see nothing happens because it's empty. And we're going to want to then we're going to want to put an unordered list inside our nav. So we're going to come in, we're going to tab inside, so we're one line in. We're going to do UL unordered list, and we're going to just leave that because we don't need to class that at the moment, and we're going to close it. And then we're going to stick inside, we're going to stick home, then we're going to stick in away, because I'm just thinking of things that you might link to, contact, and awesomeness. Awesomeness. There we go. And we're going to hit Command S, and we're going to go back, and it's going to, there we are. See, now you're thinking that's just a list, but most nav bars are lists, and there's two ways of going about making them into a nav bar. I'm going to go for the one that's slightly less supported, but a lot easier to actually function. It's supported by anything above IE7, so IE8 and above. But the truth is, if you've got some fucker looking at your site in IE7, they've got issues anyway. They need to get their bollocks stapled to the floor. Anybody using Internet Explorer, kill yourself. Alright, that was a bit harsh. I retract that. Just download Chrome, or Firefox, or Opera. Opera is better than Internet Explorer. Opera. But get Chrome. Anyway, rant over. So what we're going to do is we're going to style it, but we're going to start by making the nav a specific colour. So we're going to come down, we're going to put a comment in, so it's /star, and they say navigation. Just so that when you're searching through your CSS, when it's 700 lines long like mine is, you know exactly where stuff is, and you can, as you add stuff, if you change something in the nav, you can put it up with the navigation, so that it all stays together and you can just generally have a good idea of what's going on. So we're going to come down, and because it's an identity, not a class, we'll do #nav, and we're going to make the background color a bit darker. Let's make it almost black. So background, and then let's make it 111. And then press Command S, close the bracket, and there we go. And you're thinking, but there's a bit of a margin at the top. Maybe I don't want that. So let's inspect element and work out which it is. So it's not the list. It might be the UL, but it's not the nav. But it is in fact the padding on the container. You can see the green at the top signifies the padding. So we're going to go up to container, and we're going to take the padding off the top and bottom, because we don't need that at the moment. So we want the nav to be right at the top, but you'll see it's still not quite there. It's because inside the nav, when you come down to nav, your unordered list has a margin on the top. Like I was saying, it has certain default values, so we're going to want to take them away. So we'll go down to nav, and this is the interesting thing, is you don't have to apply a class to every single thing. If you've got something within something, you can specify the outside thing and then have whatever's inside it do something. So we've said that hash nav is almost black, and then we're going to say any unordered list inside hash nav does this, and you do it by creating a string. So you do hash nav and then whatever you want to style that's inside that. So we're styling an unordered list. So basically what that does, hash nav space ul and then your curly brackets, is any unordered list inside hash nav will do this. So we're going to want to say list style none, and we're going to set the margin to 0, and we're going to set the padding to 0, and you'll see that it does that. And that's exactly kind of where we want to be right now. Now in our nav bar, you don't want your nav really squashed up against the side, so we're going to set our padding, and you remember it's top, right, bottom, left for padding and margin, or top and bottom, right and left. So our top and bottom we don't want, we want a little bit of padding, let's say 3 pixels, but our left and right we want a fair bit so it doesn't sort of look squashed to the sides. So let's add a nice 10 pixel padding to the left and right. Command S and save. Nah, I'm not really fancying that. I think it should be bigger. Let's go to 30 pixels. And there we go. So you've immediately got some kind of navigation. Okay. Now, what I want to go to next is making them in one line. You look at, let's look at a navigation I've done recently. St. George's JCR.co.uk. You'll see the navigation. Now it's all styled quite sort of neatly. And actually, there's a photo of me there. Haha. But you're able to see that it's nice and centered and it's all in one long line. But that's still, if we look at the source, view page source, it's an unordered list. You can see it right here. And I'm about to show you how to do it. So we're going to go and we're going to make, again, this is the same thing as we did before with the unordered list inside a nav. We're going to say any nav, any unordered list inside a nav, but better still, any list element inside an unordered list inside a nav. This is where it gets a bit confusing and you have to play around with it and work out what works for yourself. Open the brackets, close the brackets, and inside we're going to put display inline dash block. And that's something you're just going to have to take my word for. Maybe later on in the series I'll explain what they actually do and the differences between them. But at the moment, all you need to know is display inline block. And watch this. Bazinga! It's there. It's displayed in one long line, but it's an unordered list, so each element has its own thing, and that's the beauty of it. Now, a lot of nav bars you see in the middle, so we're going to set the unordered list, not the list elements, to text align, text dash align center, and hit Command S. Come back. And look at it. These things are so easy, and it's the basics that people get wrong. This is how to build a website. This is how I build websites. I start adding. We might get into Photoshop next tutorial, possibly the tutorial after that, because I want to do something interesting next tutorial. But the padding isn't quite right. But I'm not at the point where I want to affect the padding yet, because I want to show you something cool. In fact, we're going to take the padding off the top and bottom altogether, so it's nice and squashed, and we're going to want to go back to our source code. And you think, but I can't click on home. Clicking on it does nothing, and that's because we're going to introduce today anchor tags. Now this is a really in-depth tutorial today. I'm going over a lot of things, so if you're finding it, you're struggling, come back and have a watch again, or go to the download link in the description below and check out my code. You'll be able to have a look at it, play around with it, and the truth is, break it. Work out what fucks it up, and then go back to it and think, okay, that broke it, let's try something else. And continue to develop stuff. So we're going to go to an anchor tag, which is just an pointy bracket A, and then href, H-R-E-F. I think we covered this earlier. No, we didn't. We covered it in the linking a style sheet. And then open quotes, and then we just put a hash, because that basically treats it as if it links to somewhere, but it doesn't actually link anywhere. Close the pointy bracket, and then come across after home, and then put the closing A tag. So within your list tag, let's separate these off so they're nice and clear. Within each list tag, you want an anchor tag. So let's do this for each one. I'm just going to copy these bits in. So copy the anchor tag and then close it. And now you can at the end tidy them all up so it's one line. But at the moment, so as to show you guys what is going on, we'll keep them nice and open and airy for your sake. So at the moment, we'll hit Command S. Now we should see a color change. They should go blue and underlined. Bingo! That's a default value for an A tag, is blue and underlined. And most of you will know exactly what that means. It's a link. And when you hover over it, you see the cursor changes from a cursor to a pointer. Now that's pretty standard, it's pretty normal. And that only happens when you've got it actually linking somewhere. At some point later on in the tutorial, I'll show you I'll show you how to make it pointer without having something linking, but whole different kettle of fish. Don't worry about that yet. So instead of adding the padding to the div nav, we're going to make the padding on the A elements. So here we are. The nest goes even deeper because this is going to be any A tag inside a list tag inside an unordered list tag in the #nav ID. If you're not with me, take a look at the code. I'll say that one more time. This is going to be an anchor tag inside a list tag inside an unordered list tag inside the nav tag. So that's #nav ULLIA. So this is any link inside all of them. And we're going to say color, and we're going to make it white. FFF. We're going to take the underline off. That's text decoration none. And then we're going to add some padding. So padding, let's say 20 pixels. And that's 20 all the way around, and we'll see what happens. Why has that happened? Display inline block. It's because we don't have box sizing on. This is something I tried to do the other week. This is a confusing one. Again, it's just code you're going to have to take my word for. So this is everything. So star, box, dash, sizing, border box, border dash box. That's something you're just going to have to live with. And then to make sure Mozilla, so Firefox does it as well, we're going to do dash moz dash box sizing border, spell it right, dash box. There we are. And that fucking, why aren't you doing that? We'll leave that code in because that should stay there. We don't need that to do anything else. But we're going to go back down to your A tag, and we're going to hit display inline block, and then hit Command S, and there we go. That's right. But the padding's too big. So the padding at the top and the bottom probably ought to be less. So we're going to leave the padding on the left and right as 20, and we're going to put the padding on the top and bottom as 10. So your padding will read 10 pixels, 20 pixels. That's top and bottom, left and right. And there we have it. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how to make something change when you hover over it. When you hover over loads of links on websites, they change color. And that's a pretty standard web thing to do now. One thing I will just jump in and do is put a margin on the bottom of the nav. You can see our title's stuck quite close to it. And I don't really want that to be like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set margin 0, 0. So it's top, right, bottom. So this we're going to set 20 pixels and then 0 because that's the left one. And bingo, there we go. So this is starting to look pretty sweet. Now, the way hovers work is you have to specify anything that you want to change. So we're going to do this is a nest even deeper than the last one. So we're going to do #nav ULLIA colon, so that's 2 dots, hover. And there's no space between the A and the colon on the hover. And then you want a curly bracket, and now anything you set here, it will do. So let's change the color from white to yellow. FFF000, I think that's yellow. I'm pretty sure it's yellow. It doesn't matter, it's a different color. And then we're going to put text decoration, underline. So we've got a nice underline. And we're going to change the background color. So background, and we're going to change that to, at the moment our div is 111. We're going to make it 000, so it's going to go to black. There's going to be a box of black around it. And we're going to see how that looks. You probably can't see on the video. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the nav to like a 3, so we can see, bollocks, the rest of our box was 3. There we are. You can see, here we are. That's a much easier look now. You can see it underlines really nicely. Underline's fucking horrible. Don't use it. I just wanted to show you what happens. Take out the underline because there's rarely times you want to use an underline unless you're being really stylish with it. But there you go. So that is how to build a nav bar. And pretty much every website will have one. At the moment, we're just going to leave the links blank. So leave them there, but they click. So you can actually click and see what happens. And that's pretty much the basics of a nav bar. So today we've covered lists, anchor tags, navigation bars, that's what nav stands for, navigation, and hover. If at any point you have any questions, be sure to put them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. I would suggest though, if you're having trouble, download the code I've put up. Don't feel that you have to copy exactly what it is. You can change the colours, you can change anything. But use it as a start point. If you're getting to the point where you don't know how to get to where we've been, have a look at what you've done, then have a look at what I've done, and see where the difference is. See what you've done differently to me, or what I've done differently to you, and work out what's fucked it. If it's broken for a reason. Code doesn't just break. Have a look through and think, okay, shit, that's where I've done something wrong. Or when I do this, this happens. It's a simple cause and effect. When I do this, this happens. When I do that, that happens. And I think it's important to just play. I'm totally self-taught. I would have been really, really happy to have someone doing tutorials, even as basic as this, when I was learning to code. This would have saved me a fucking long time. I'll tell you that much. It would have saved me learning to code in tables. Never code in tables. Yeah, it just saved me a fucking age worth of time. So just learn by doing. But the beauty is you've got my code as a good start point if you get to the point where you're stuck. So this has been the first web design and coding for beginners since a couple of little weeks. I had obviously the issue with my internet, so it's been a tough old time for that, and I've been really, really fucking busy. I've been building St George's JCR.co.uk. So if you're interested in another site that I've built, then go and check that out. If you have any questions, put them in the comments or tweet me at Panics. If you're interested in me as a designer outside YouTube, so mainly doing web design, stuff like that, follow my my personal account, which is at Rob Stellini. I'll put that in the description as well. I'm going to start pushing that as well, because the truth is my time on YouTube is finite. Hopefully my time in the design industry is infinite, and I want to stay as long as I can. So that's stuff I'll be tweeting more about stuff that I'm working on out of YouTube, and I've got a couple of exciting projects coming up. So this has been absolutely fantastic. This has been a really long tutorial. How long have we been here? 23 minutes. But the truth is, look how far we've come. We've come from having nothing to having pretty much this is a website. I've seen websites out there that are worse than this, and worsely built. That's the most important thing, is you're learning to build the structure, and you'll see how easy, once we go from having a structure, you'll see how fucking easy it is to style this all. Once I've taught you text coloring and text design, which we're going to do next week, I'm going to push the boat out and try and cover web fonts. I might later change my mind and regret that. We'll see. But we're going to do some very, very simple text styling to make it look good, and then possibly Photoshop. Get Photoshop open and see what's cracking with that. To get some nice sort of colours going and some textures and stuff like that. We'll talk about photos and stuff like that. Maybe that's a different tutorial. But I really love giving these to you guys, and everybody's been tweeting me asking me where they are. I'm sorry it's taken me so long, but I will be getting these out as regularly as I can, really, because they don't take me too long. I just sit down and it's an opportunity for me to reaffirm what I do. Especially I've been coding all day. It's a nice opportunity to just sit down and be like, okay, I know that works. This is how to do it. So yeah, I've been Rob or Panics. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I'll see you guys as soon as I see you. Goodbye.